If you're Mark Healy, you don't just live on the water, you live for it. You get up, get your shades, grab a spear, grab a boat, grab a friend. Okay, take a breath. Hold it. Hold it. Here, hold this. Go, go, whoa. All right, now find something to jump on. It's probably too high. It wasn't too high. Time to get going? Time to keep going. How's that feel? And now this is living. For those who need water to breathe, Costa sunglasses.
What do you see?
Reminds me of muskies.
I love your mind.
They call it a bucket mouse because he's got a bucket mouse.
Wow.
I just want to tell you, I've been slaying the walleye lately.
That is so hot.
Ever bump the stump?
Suffix 832, the line that changes the game.
And boom, we are live at ABT Lockdown Live, number 10. We've hit double digits. Thought we would have at least had a birthday cake here tonight. And we are now fortnightly. So during the real tight lockdown, we were coming at you every week. Now, of course, every fortnight. And when we get back to fishing in ABT, and that's a story we've got on tonight, pretty excited about that, we'll be coming at you monthly because this format really popular with all you guys watching. You've done all the right things. You've liked it. You've shared it. You've told your mates about it. We love doing it now, so we're stuck doing it forevermore. So once a month, you'll see us coming to you. Won't be ABT Lockdown Live there. It's probably just going to be ABT Live, or we will work some funny adjective to go in the middle to describe what's going on. Packed show tonight. Things are happening. If you watch the Prime Minister today, having a bit of a snide crack at our mighty Lord Anastasia Palaszczuk, looks like the borders are going to be open. We actually saw that news a few weeks ago. It's been up on the websites and everything, saying that on the 1st of July, they will make an announcement to either confirm or deny that the borders are going to be open on the 10th of July. So when everyone got stuck into the Queensland government today, and we have to talk about that because we're based in Queensland, no use having tournaments where we have them in Queensland, the New South Welshmen and everyone else can't come, or likewise running a tournament in New South Wales when the Queenslanders, if they go down, can't come back without having a quarantine involved. So great news there from the Queensland government. We're going to be talking about how ABT reboots only a little later tonight when we're talking with Tim Morgan. Now, that's who we've got on tonight. We've got Tim Morgan live in studio. He's going to be with us soon. We've got Matthew Mott that we've talked to during the week. We're going to have a talk to the Big Kahuna about some of his favourite AFC moments and to talk about some of the great Garmin product that he's pimping at the moment. We have Phil Lomas. We track Phil Lomas down. He lives down at Lake Macquarie now. And he was responsible for the Breamin I and II videos. And to be honest, he is the man that really helped bream fishing on lures get started in this country. So a big shout out to Phil. And we're going to see Phil online tonight. We're going to talk to also Troy Dixon from Zerrick and from Wilson's. It looks like the Barra tours are the only ones that are not going to be COVID affected at all, and it is some of our favourite fishing of the year, catching those big Queensland impoundment Barra. Dicko's going to run through the calendar with us, talk about a few of the Zerrick baits and maybe some of the venom rods that you're going to need through those events. We've got plenty of prizes as usual. Timmy's going to drop a new lure tonight. We're going to show you something about that. We've got a few of those as prizes. We've got merchandise from Costa. We've got AFC DVDs and kit. And the first of the comps that we run, and we do this every week, every time we run the show, tell us where you're from. If you're on Facebook, drop it in the comments. If you're on YouTube, drop it in the on the live chat beside there. And Nicole will be trawling through those by the end of the night. And award, the prize for the where are you from, is 4 AFC DVDs and an ABT 2019 tournament shirt in your size. And we'll whack that in the mail for you early next week. So tell us where you're from. Facebook or on YouTube, doesn't really matter, so long as we can find out, that's great. Timmy will be talking to us tonight about some of the Suffix lines and the rebooting of that Suffix Bass Pro series. We got plenty of prizes. We're all overtired because we've been up watching Carl for the last couple of nights. How good is it to have some Bassmaster Elite series to watch again? I like it. He had the camera on him the first night. I don't know if you were like me, came to work like this. Yep, that's how it happens. But good to see, even though he didn't end up in the top half of the field, he did it with 10 out of 10 fish. Back when there was a ledge fishing tournament, if he brought in 2 or 3 fish, he was happy. So it's good to see that his level for failure is increasing and increasing. So let's go to an ad from Rapala, one of our favourite ads on Lockdown Live. And when you come back, magically, Tim the Brim Morgan will be here talking to us about all things Suffix and Rapala.
We know they're out there, and we know we need to find them. We target them for different reasons, but when the line tightens, we all feel the same. We feel alive. The water moves around us, and the world feels far away. We are here. We are fishing. It is a search, not just for fish, but for all things most important. For family and friends, for tradition and tranquility, for conservation and competition. All of us find what we are looking for. Yet we continue searching. We cast, and as the lure soars, our hopes soar with it. This will be the one. They tell us insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. But we are not insane. The fish are still out there, and we are fishermen. We have been since we were young, and will be until we can do no more. And then, when the ice begins to freeze within us, we will.
Righto, told you some magic was going to happen, and here it is. It's the he calls himself the shorter, fatter, better looking, smarter, and better fisherman Morgan.
Yep.
Timmy, welcome to the show, mate, and it's good to be at Fishing Monthly offices. Just a quick one. Last show we're having in this old studio. We're retiring this old studio, and we are dead set getting stuck into making a front one out there. And it looks like a bit of a brothel at the moment, doesn't it?
It looks horrible, but I'm sure it'll come up a treat. You got the free painting happening out there?
Yep, so the painting is happening. We had Lord Peter Morgan in today with the roller doing stuff. Hopefully it's going to be done by 2 weeks' time, because that's when our next show's on. So you would be as excited as me, though, Timmy. And, of course, Timmy is one of the chiefs over there at Rapala VMC Australia. You would be as excited as anyone to see ABT going to reboot soon, mate, with that announcement today and with Queensland plans. It looks like, and let's say now, it looks like Wivenhoe Bass, the fourth, supposed to be the fourth round of the Suffolk Bass Pro Series, is going to be when we're going to be able to get on the water and catch some big Queensland bass in competition.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. Now, that's something we're going to talk about. Let's talk about the season now, about how it's going to happen. We've talked about all sorts of scenarios. Do we push the season out and reschedule all the events? Do we push into next year? Do we just axe them? What's the best thing to do? Well, if you know anything about running tournaments, getting permits and getting times locked in is an absolute nightmare, hardest thing to do. So what we've done is the events we've missed due to COVID, which is WA, Mandurah, in the Brim, and Foster in the Brim, and the Australian Open in the Brim. We've actually let those events slide. We've moved the Australian Open for the Brim, and we'll tell you about that later on. In the Bass, we've actually missed 3 qualifiers. So it looks like this year Bass is going to run with only 3 qualifiers and a grand final, not 6 qualifiers. Can we reschedule them? Not really. Our tournaments are so tight in the end of the year that we can't actually fit it in. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through species by species on exactly how we're going to do it. So, Nicole, if you can pull up the slide about the Suffolk Bass Pro Series, let's run through what it's going to look like for the rest of the season. So round 2, 18th and 19th of July, that's about 8 to 9 days after the Queensland borders get open for travel again. We're going to head to Wivenhoe Dam. Now, Timmy, you know this because you've been fishing up here recently. There are a few restrictions at Wivenhoe Dam. Tell us about the outboards you're allowed to run and how fast you're allowed to go on that joint.
Well, 6 knot speed limit.
And that's the whole lake.
Yeah, that's the whole lake, so, and it's a big lake. So, but, you know, normal bass comp, I've done a fair bit of fishing out of Wivenhoe over the last few weeks, but you can cover a lot of ground, but a lot of boats will be in a pretty small area, I think. So,
and you have, everyone says, it's only 6 knots, so you might have to run an hour to get to a spot, but it's a 7 or 8 hour session. It's dawn till like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You have plenty of time to make the world's worst decision and go like 20 kilometres upstream. And if the fish aren't there, you're going to sort of suck. It just means that you can't make that pivot and then head all the way to the other end of the lake if you think you've made a mistake.
Yeah, you've got to have your game plan right and do it, and it's got to be a fuel-injected 2-stroke or a 4-stroke.
Yep, and which means basically you can use anything so long as it's not a carby 2-banger. So if you've got the old smoky 2-banger or even the old Murky FIs, they're a fuel-injected one, but if you've got a carby motor, can't take it on there, and ABT will be enforcing that rule. So you've got to have the right motor, which most of you have anyway. You've got to go 6 knots everywhere, and we're going to disqualify anyone that breaks those rules. A lot of people said, "Oh, you're going to get an exemption." It's like you try and get an exemption from the SEQ water to do anything. I tried to get an exemption from paying fees.
Well, get an exemption. You probably get the skiers out there too for the weekend. So
exactly. So sorry, but no exemptions. They've already bet us over and smashed us for the fees anyway to run the tournament. The other thing about that Wivenhoe tournament is we are unsure whether the campgrounds are going to be open. SEQ Water doesn't know because they subcontract it out to someone else. You ring the company doesn't really know. Who knows when it's going to be open? But the good thing is we've got a plan B in action. Gary Fitzgerald and the guys from the Somerset Wivenhoe Fish Stocking Association are organising it, and we just got to wait for final approval of this, that we can all camp at the showgrounds down at Fernvale. Awesome. Only about 15 minutes away from the lake. Powered sites, non-powered sites, there's plenty of pubs, food in town. Showgrounds, good atmosphere. You can go down, set up your camp, charge your boat, and have a good social time while probably still social distancing.
Yes.
Like, I don't know how you say cheers from 1.5 metres away, but that's how she happens. From there, the rest of the season will roll out exactly as on the calendar. So Somerset Dam, 8th and 9th of August, that's when the big boys should be biting. Again, we don't know right now exactly which end of Somerset we're going to run it from because they don't know whether the campground's going to be open. So after Wivenhoe, we will make that decision because we'll probably have a little bit more clarity from the venue as to what is going to be open and not. So bear with us. I know people want to book accommodation. Just hold your Somerset accommodation until after the Wivenhoe event. Then, of course, we're going to go to the grand final to Cania Dam. And Timmy, why do you love Cania so much?
Because last time I was there, I won. Yes. I had to bring that in somewhere.
Of course, and of course you did it using the Rapala jerkbaits, mate, so good karma there.
That's right, and it was winter time, cold, and I remember 20 years ago you were up there throwing Rapala husky jerks, cold along the bank. Everyone was in the spoon craze.
Yep.
Went back to old school and it was good.
And old school worked well. Now, there you go. The other bit of news we got, Rapala Bass Australian Open, we've moved it. It's moved 1 week early. We've clarified it with the dam, with Nick down at Aberdeen Bait and Tackle. It's all cool to run a week early. I don't know if we want to tell the reason why we moved this one, Timmy. You want to tell the reason why or not?
Maybe going fishing at Weeper.
One sponsor, it's Rapala. He had a clash of interest, and look, we said we have to move something for COVID. So Bass Australian Open has been moved 1 week early. All of this information is going to be on the ABT website. It's going to go live all after this show tonight. So let's go. That's Bass. Bass is away and going. The last thing about Bass, I'm going to say, is some people say, are you going to modify the qualification technique or the qualification process because we've lost a few events? The answer to that is no. I don't want to move as much as possible. If I change it, it'll advantage some people and disadvantage someone else. If I leave it, it'll advantage some people and so it all just depends who's going to complain about it. So let's just leave it as it is. If you went to St Clair early in the year and you've got some points on the board already, good on you. That was tough times. Like, it was all cool when we went there, but we were getting chased across the border at the end. So there's 3 qualifying events this year. We can't fit another qualifier in to make that grand final. So answer that question, no changes in that. Let's talk about the Costa Brim Series, another product that you guys do, and Costa been a great naming sponsor for the last 3 years. We're sort of lucky in the Brim. We had 4 qualifiers out of the road in Victoria, Tassie before the COVID restrictions start. We missed a few things in the Brim. Australian Open, it's going to get rescheduled, but we missed Foster and we missed Mandurah in WA. But from round 5 at Bribie, 25th and 26th of July, it's business as usual on the calendar for us. So we've got a qualifier at Bribie, we've got a qualifier at Richmond River in New South Wales, 29th and 30th of August. Gladstone is a part of our mega trip to central Queensland. We do the Gladstone Brim event, we do the Barra Australian Open, and then we do the Bass Grand Final straight after it. World's best road trip. And of course the grand final is locked in exactly where it has been in Port Stephens, 6th to 8th of November. The change, Daiwa Brim Australian Open on Sydney Harbour, now the 11th to 13th of November. And if you look at this calendar, that's a few days after the Brim Grand Final. So if you're coming from interstate, you want to make the big trip into Port Stephens, or you're going to come and borrow a boat, borrow it for a few more days, and you can then go down to Sydney and fish the Australian Open. So we hope we get a lot of guys that might have come up from Tassie or come up from Victoria, down from Queensland, having a go at that Australian Open, because, Timmy, you fished as many Australian Opens as anyone else. That joint is rocking, especially coming into summer.
It is. It'll probably suit my way of fishing better anyway, surface, crankbaits, things like that. So never know, I might have to see what's happening on the calendar then.
Well, I reckon you might have to qualify for a first mate. Just because you sponsor it doesn't mean you get into it straight away. Now, next one, let's talk about the Bass Electric Series. Joey Urquhart does a great job running that the Bass Electric Series. Round 1, Hinds Dam, 12th of July. That's like dead set. Couple of days after the borders open. So if you're a New South Welshman, feel free to come up and fish that. I know a lot of guys in northern New South Wales come up and do it. The Hinds Dam, we'll have all that info up soon and clarify, but it looks like it's going to be a split start from both the east and western arm. We're going to, just to minimise congestion, SEQ Water is like, there's not enough car parks for the trailers. So we're going to maybe do that, and keep an eye on the website for the ways that we're actually going to make that happen. We do have to go through lots of hoops to keep SEQ Water happy. After that, we've got Mulgara Dam. I think it's been rescheduled. It's on the 23rd of August now. We put it on that date because that dead set is when the Brisbane Boat Show used to be. And when does Mulgara fish the best?
When the boat show's on.
When the Brizzy Boat Show was on. I remember working at that joint thinking, I wish I was at Mulgara, Dong and Big Bass. So that'll be a great one, that round 2. That one's sponsored by Nomad with their BKK hooks. Round 3, Richmond River. Pull out your banjos, go visit Joey. That Richmond River, they caught the titties out of them in the grand final last year. Some guys were catching 100 fish in 2 days. Let's see how it fishes on the first weekend of open season on the 6th of September. Of course, the river, you can't have caught bass in there for 4 months beforehand. Bang, season opens, we've got a Bass Electric there. And the grand final, here's a bit of an announcement, don't know if you knew about it, but Lenthall's Dam, 19th and 20th September is what we're aiming for. So there you go, I think that's a bit of hot news for you. Best event of the year, though, I reckon, is the Humminbird Bass Electric Australian Open. It's at Wyaralong Dam again. It's exactly where it was last year. It hasn't changed on the calendar. We're trying to get Big Sean Clancy up for that. Like, what do you reckon? You reckon the big man is going to be able to defeat a little bass this big or not?
Nah, they got it all over him.
Sponsored by Humminbird, so we're going to have a lot of really great Humminbird Mega 360 content coming out of that, and Sean Clancy will be able to help us generate that because he can see the matrix when it comes to Humminbird. Let's go to Barra, and as I said, Barra is not being affected at all. We're going to talk to Dicko about it later in this show, but we're at... we go to Tinaroo first, 30th to 31st of October, the Barra Australian Open, sponsored by Venom Rods at the Lake of Woonga, at the best time of the year to fish it. Justin Nye's just snapping his doodle off on how excited he is. How many big Barra are going to come in. Then it rolls into the Barra Tour, which is Kinchin, Toowoomba and Peter Faust. We're going to talk about that later in the show. So there's your calendar news, and all that stuff will be live on the website after the show. But Timmy, I got you here, firstly, to launch something cool, and before you say anything about it, let's roll a little video that you showed us earlier. There you go, Timmy. That looks like an exciting bait. Tell us all about it. We've seen a little bit of a preview there. What's it all about?
Well, it's new Rapala V-Blade. It's actually a US bass lure, which we only found out in Australia a little bit later on in the thing as well. But, you know, I've had them for about 6 weeks now playing with them. I've caught some cracking fish on them down at Hinds and out at Wivenhoe. It's, you know, a lipless crankbait. It's got that evil eye on it, but it's also got a, you know, the fin on the top. Gives it a... all the fins on them are metallic, so it gives it a lot more flash. It's 6 centimetres, 14 grams, so you can fish them like we got a cracking 51 fork length fish out at Wivenhoe the other day in 30 foot of water. So you can fish it nice and deep as well as like right up to the edges. It's a pretty supple rattle, so it's not a really, really noisy one.
Small balls, it sounds like.
Yes, so it's just catching fish. So it's I'm pretty excited. We've actually got 2 of them to give away with the Costa pack tonight. So someone will be the first one in Australia, outside of a Rapala person, to get them. But our stock for these actually has landed, and they start getting sent out on about Monday or Tuesday next week. So they will be
tackle stores end of next week. And I think that, you know, when you look at the bait, this top and bottom fin, they're actually really thin, so it doesn't actually affect the lure much apart from give it that broader profile. And to me, that says bony brim.
That says bony brim, and you know, we've caught them on a nice slow roll, lift and hop, burning them. So yeah, it's a very versatile bait, and it's going to be something's going to catch a lot of bass on the tour.
Now, tell us, how much is the RRP of those guys going to be?
Recommended retail $19.95, so under $20. It's a great lure. Goes through timber and everything really well down at Hinds as well. So it's going to be versatile, and I think we'll see them in a lot of tackle boxes.
And I think it helps to go through the timber because it's got a double hook, not a treble hook on the front of it there. So every time it bumps over a snag, it doesn't get that front treble stuck in it. Now, that Costa pack we're going to give away. We do this comp every so often. It's about your favourite Rapala lure. So make sure you put in the comments either in Facebook or in YouTube. Tell us your favourite lure. It doesn't have to be this one, which is the V-Wrap, and I can tell that because I remembered it because I read it on the side of the packet. You will win some V-Wrap, and you will win some great Costa and VMC merchandise there. Tell us what your favourite Rapala is. For us, you know, when we were growing up, it was fat wraps in the mangroves up at Hinchinbrook, or little CD6s and CD8s. We had, I remember at Weeper, Rattling Wraps. Hey. So, you know, we've got a fair bit of history with Rapala. Let us know your favourite Rapala. Can be as obscure as you like, because I bet you he'll know what it's going to be. And later in the show, we're going to draw that pack and send it all out. Now, Timmy, before you take off, tell us a little bit about Suffix.
Are we giving away a retail price?
We are giving away a retail price. It was $19.95.
$19.95.
That was from the director. Thanks for that. Timmy, tell us a little bit about Suffix. It's the naming sponsor of the Bass Series this year. I've been using them, especially this nano braid here. I've been using them a lot for brim. Tell us about the range, because it's looking pretty good now.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of lines in the range, but now working at Rapala and throwing a lot of spin, bait cast gear and everything like that, I've really honed down what I like using for the bass fishing. So in a light line situation, finesse fishing around timber and things like that, I like using the 131. So that's a 13 carrier braid. It's probably our most expensive, but it's very supple. So it'll go really nicely, the 4 pound on a spinning reel. Very abrasion resistant, so great for around timber and things like that. Stepping up from there, we go to the 832. So the 832, that is our workhorse braid. That is, if you're fishing in the thickest timber, put that on your bait caster or spin or whatever. Not really good for finesse fishing. It's probably not as supple, but if you're putting it on a bait caster, rolling spinner baits, rolling lipless crankbaits, anything through timber, put that stuff on, because if a fish gets in there, you're going to pull it out. As you said, you like the nano braid. To me, the nano braid, that is my finesse line. That is fishing light line, but also great for, we're going to go fishing Wivenhoe and Somerset, catch some big fish, up to 3.5 kilo fish, but a lot of the time you're out in the flats, you're fishing deep water. This nano braid, I think in the 2 pound is 0.04 of a millimetre diameter. So the advantage of that is that thin line is you can sink your lures down deeper, less drag, on the line, more realistic action with the lures, and you don't have to worry about them busting you off on timber or anything like that. We also do a few leaders as well. So the Invisalign there is the one I use 99% of the time. It is the most abrasion resistant leader that I've ever used. It's a pretty hard fluorocarbon leader, so you really got to lock your knots in, but if a fish gets around timber, 9 times out of 10 you'll get it out. And then the Super 21 fluorocarbon, it's a little bit more supple line, so it's a lot easier to tie knots in. Maybe not quite as abrasion resistant as the Invisalign, but it's a cracking leader as well and easy to tie knots. And the last one I got there that I'll show is the Suffix Advance, so straight through fluorocarbon. I love fishing that in the brim when we're throwing crankbaits and things like that, but it's also available in that's 4 pounds, so available in 6, 8, 10, 14 and 20 pound if you want to throw straight through for your bass as well.
Yeah, I've been using this a lot for the brim actually. It's a real shame you don't make it less than 4 pound because I like using 2, 3, 4 and 5 pound. This fits right. This is my go-to for cranker crabs when I'm not in nasty structure. When I go to nasty structure, I go up to the 6 and the 8 pound for this. And the good thing is the 8 pound of this, you can actually throw crabs on it, no worries at all. It's got a bit of memory, like all fluorocarbon has a bit of memory, but it's not too bad. It's quite manageable. So my theory is these guys are the naming sponsor for a lot of our stuff in the brim. If you buy and use their product, the Karma Monster is going to come and smack you on the butt and you're going to win some tournaments. That's what it's all about. So I can't guarantee you're going to win a tournament for you, Suffix, but you're not going to be doing the wrong thing.
I can guarantee you just got to keep fishing them. So if you didn't win it this year, go next year.
Very good. There you go. That is true. Timmy, thanks very much for your input. Thanks for coming down tonight to be on Lockdown Live, last event in the old studio here. Remember that comps we have tonight. Tell us where you are. You can win a great AFC DVD pack. Tell us your favourite Rapala. You can win some of these great VRAP blades, and as well as the Costa merchandise pack. Nicole is monitoring that there. If you're a little suck-up comment to Nicole, you might have a better chance. I don't know. Has worked in the past. Jeff Alford, you don't have to do it. We know that you do it already. And a big shout out to Mike Sutcliffe watching from Singapore. As usual, Mike, you're not winning any of these prizes because I'm not paying international postage. Sorry, buddy. You won $3,000 at the St Helens qualifier. That's good enough for you. Timmy, thanks for joining us tonight, mate. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to do this now. There you go. Thanks for joining us tonight on Lockdown Night. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to that's watching the audience there before you go?
Go to bed, kids. I'll be home soon.
There you go. Let's go to an ad. We're going to be back to you with Phil Lomas.
Hi, I lost a big fish earlier today. Wasn't using Suffix. It was about this big.
Look, slow down there, cowboy, okay? A fish in the lobster van, huh? You want your fish. Sorry, honey, that fish is gone.
Always use the best line, Suffix 832.
Okay, so we have been going through a lot of historical footage here on ABT Lockdown Live. You've seen some of it on the show, but I have tracked down the man who made the best Bremin historical footage there is. He made Bremin I and II. Phil Lomas is on the other end of the line here. Phil, good to see you, mate, and I haven't talked to you probably for a decade or maybe more, but you were the man behind the camera in the pioneer Bremin video ever made, weren't you?
Well, mate, you scared me when you said 20 years ago. Where's it gone?
Yeah, it is, mate. It is, and you jumped in right on the start of the Bremin thing. We just started the tournaments. The Bass tournament started in 1999 and the Brim tournaments in 2000. And you were in a position where you were a cameraman and you were great at producing stuff. And you said, I remember you said, I want to come and film some stuff and make a DVD. And I thought, how am I ever going to get a better deal than someone who really knows shit and knows fishing to come on the tour with us to a few different venues and make a video about it? Mate, I'm not blowing wind in your sails, but without the
I'll
Bremin
do it as much as you like,
DVD,
mate.
without the Bremin DVDs, I don't think the growth would have been like this. It would have been like that. I think, mate, really appreciate you accelerating that growth in the early days and living vicariously through Jesse, your son, who was on AFC in the first few series.
Yeah, well, mate, I suppose that's what you always look for because, as you know, I started back in the dim, dark days, and I guess you always look for that opportunity to get in on the ground floor, and that's what the whole Brim movement did. And you look at it now, and the Bass Pro as well, and it's like historical footage. You know, you go back and they were just little, 12-foot tinnies with lucky to have an electric on the front, and a little sort of like pulled start. And the guys were sort of putting around in these. And you look where it is now. And when AFC came into the picture, with the nitroses and all of those, big 100 horsepower or 100K boats, streaming up rivers and lakes, it is really, so yeah, I really appreciate getting in there and from the start. And as you know, I'm a fishing tragic. So really, I guess it was a matter of having to make the opportunity to do fishing, and it just really good luck that we both came along at the one time.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Bremin first, because Bremin was the first one, and what you did was you came on the road with us to Foster, to Shoalhaven River, to a Gold Coast event. The point I'm making is it's not like today where people make content on a tiny device. It's not very expensive to do. They can edit it straight away. It's all very instant. It was probably a year and a half, actually, by the time you finished the post-production, a real labour of love.
Oh, mate, it was. It took a long time. I really don't, well, I know that people don't understand the process of editing a professional, documentary, the time it takes, the cost that it takes, the equipment. Like, it also coincided with the arrival of high definition in Australia. There were lots of things happening, it was the Sydney 2000 Olympics, all of that was happening. And like, for example, people still can't believe when I tell them, the cameras that we were operating then, the HD cameras, they were worth $250,000, for a camera. Now you can get it on an $1,100 iPhone. And like my back and my neck would be screaming, mate, for some of the equipment that they use today, like the drones that go underwater, the telemetry, the Wi-Fi, it's just beautiful stuff. Like, I think one of my fond memories is going back to Kingfisher days, which is how we met,
yes.
With Rob Lockwood and Kevin Clark and all of that. And I remember getting the footage, which was just like unbelievable at that stage of I won't mention its name, but that green mountain fish.
Yes.
And what I had to do was go head down over the bow of the skiff that we're in with a snorkel and a little camera on a painter's pole.
Yep.
And I couldn't see anything. There's no viewfinder or anything. But you're just looking at the fish and trying to follow it and just hopefully getting it in frame. And we got these beautiful green mountain fish, like protecting their nest of little babies.
Yeah.
Like you look at it now and look what you can do. You've got little porta subs, that can go in and you can operate it by your phone and all of that, like, yeah, it's just beautiful now. But in those days, yeah, it was the big 15-kilo camera on your shoulder, and I was strong back then.
Yes, and I remember meeting a guy called I think his name was Ian Bates from ProCam in Brisbane, who was he sort of partnered with you through this because he gave you access to a studio. And again, nowadays a studio is an Apple Mac laptop, but back in those days it was an entire room full of more gadgets than the space shuttle, and it was due to his generosity as well that we could sort of get this off the ground and get it out there. Explain a little bit of that process. It was for you, it was driving to Brisbane and sitting in post-production, and it's why it's dated so well, all of this stuff, isn't it? Because the production quality is good. Yeah,
well, Ian was absolutely fantastic. I think he was a lawyer, would you believe, and just had a bit of a passion for cameras. So he took off and got into cameras and got his own production and post-production place in Brisbane, which is still operating, which is an achievement in itself these days. So he's still operating as ProCam up there. And basically he liked what he did, like what I did, I should say. And I went to him with Kingfisher So again, Kingfisher started the whole process. And he had all the equipment. It was basically came down to a situation. He said, basically, I'll give you the gear, you do it, and we'll just, split whatever we make out of it, which is half of nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing changed in that field. It's still a mug's game. If you don't get satisfaction out of making it, you're not really doing it for the money.
That was it, mate. And it's not, like when I look back on my career, it's not you don't make money. There's no money in the industry, but it's the privileges you get. It's the privileges that you get with meeting up with people like yourself and with Ian Bates and liking what you do. So, his generosity comes into it. And like I've done the Olympics. For 2 years went around the world to all these exotic locations doing wildlife. Spent 18 months with an Aboriginal guy on the BATS program. So it's not the money at all. It's not the money at all. It's just those opportunities rarely come along.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. You did a few years with AFC with us, and AFC was a little bit out of your comfort zone because the size of cameras shrunk. Well, you're using sort of handheld stuff, but it was again like your stuff. It was an expensive production. It had good production values, and you spent some time on some boats with some really interesting people. What was one of your standout moments of AFC?
Oh, crikey, geez, off the cuff. Standout moments.
Doing Harry's leg with a hook in it at some stage.
That was quite good. As you know, Harry and I had a love-hate relationship. He basically hated me and I loved him. But yeah, that was funny for Roy to come along. Would you trust Roy as a brain surgeon or your GP? I don't think so. So anyway, when Reuter offered to get the trebles of his vibe out of the back of Harry's leg, everyone just froze and went, "Oh, can he do it, or is it just another Reuter joke?" And the aftermath of it, and Reuter did it perfectly, as he does. He's good at all of those things like that, even though he comes across as a little bit different. And it was so funny. Harry, the Mr. Macho, he had to sit down. He almost fainted as a result of it. So I laughed my guts out of that because our love-hate relationship, I'd got one back on me. But yeah, there were some funny times, mate. Oh, God. I won't mention the cameras that got drowned.
We've heard about those already on the show. We've let out the truth of what happened at the Gold Coast. 20 years on or 15 years on, whatever it is. Reuter came on the show the other day and told us about, I think it was Mike Hirschfield flying through the air with his camera detached from him and it all go and splash. So that's all out in the open now, mate. But that cameraman wasn't you, was it?
No. I purposely put them in. Mine wasn't an accident.
Mate, the other thing that we know you for is your father of Jesse Lomas, and he was a star in the very first AFC episodes. And give us a quick update about what Jesse's doing nowadays.
Yeah, mate, he did really well in those series. I'm sort of so proud of him of what he did because it's like everything that he's done. He just seemed to have this innate knowledge more on the biology of fishes, so he could sort of he really sort of got to know them and learned how to fish for them. So, yeah, I was extremely proud. So coming from me being a documentary wildlife cameraman, fishing tragic, to see that all come out in Jesse was, very rewarding for a dad.
That's awesome, mate. The Breamin video, like this one here, is going to be, it's a treasured item in lockdown because guys are starving for content at the moment, and stuff with good production values always trumps clickbait on social media, mate. So I know you've got plans for this down the track. Are you going to let us know when people can, they won't buy a DVD anymore, but they may be able to pay-per-view to watch this Breamin I and II series, mate. Just outline your basic plans for it.
Yeah, well, certainly, mate. Yeah, I want to get it out there because it's still... I didn't watch it for years because of the pain that it took me through. But yeah, I've since in the last 12 months moved down from Currumbin or Queensland down onto Lake Macquarie. So yeah, I've got to totally change my whole website structure and all the little satellite platforms that I've got with it. So yeah, I do plan to put it up there, but I want to put all my fishing stuff up there, like Kingfisher, like Big River Country, the Bass Pro even, because it's of historical value now.
Of course.
But it's also there's a bit of an issue here with Kingfisher, because now they're trying to, sort of mine the Clarence and do all of that, which is like, that's where I learned my fishing from. And I talk about the privilege, sort of back with, if I can backtrack a little bit, you asked about a highlight of AFC. The biggest highlight was just learning from those guys, the experts, and that's what I mean about the privilege. Like, there's 100,000 guys out there would love to be in my position. The camera got me there, so to actually do that and learn off Timmy, yourself, all of those, Harry, all of those good guys, was a privilege. And I guess that's the same for Kingfisher, the Clarence. They're trying to, mine that down there, that's what introduced me to fishing with Kevin Clark and Rob Lockwood, rest his soul. And I think it's just wrong. So I'm actually going to use those programs to try and raise a little bit of awareness about those issues. So that's why I want to do it carefully. I want to do it properly. So, and it's an important, but it will be available, mate. I'll certainly let you know.
That's awesome, mate. Yeah, it is and it's one of the few undammed, pristine rivers where those fish can live, mate. So, mate, you let us know when Breamin I II is available, and good luck with the rest of your stuff, mate. Really appreciate you taking the time to come on ABT Lockdown Live, mate, and look after yourself. Don't get this flu that's going around, mate, because I hear it's a real bug.
You might have noticed I'm a bit croaky, so it's definitely the flu.
Oh, yeah. No, if they pull out a gun, mate, they're not going to put you down. It's all good.
They won't get rid of me that easy.
All right. Thanks for joining us, mate. Appreciate the time.
Mate, a pleasure. Been real fun.
Well, there you go. That is the man who put Breamin on the map, I reckon. Back in the day, you could only watch it on DVD. There was no streaming services. It wasn't on at the movies. You had to go and buy the DVD for $30. Luckily, put a few dollars in Phil's pocket. But he probably got paid about $1 an hour when it came to making that thing. He went all around the country for a year with the ABT tour and produced Breamin I and II. Now, we've got Breamin I up on the YouTube channel at the moment. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, you know where it is. If you're watching on Facebook, it's ABT Tournaments. You can go and watch the full, it's nearly 2 hours, Breamin I. There's plenty of ads through it, and the money that goes to those ads, we're collecting it up, and we're going to give it all to Phil, because he's a bloody legend and he deserves it. So do your thing, watch the Breamin I, watch the ads, and we're currently working on Breamin II to get Breamin II up there for you to watch as well. So I hope Phil Lomas makes a bloody $1 million out of that thing, because he really put Breamin on the map. So good on you, Phil. Thanks for that. Next up, we have a segment we've run through most of this lockdown live called Show Us Your Boat, powered by Mercury. You can film these. We're still going to use them. This is the last one we've got in the system at the moment. But if you want to show us your boat and it's powered by Mercury, you can win a couple of Mercury hats, some Mercury merchandise, and at the end of it, AB, Anthony Brown from Mercury, their marketing manager and Mercury's biggest supporter at tournaments. Hope you're watching AB. He picks out his favourite Show Us Your Boat segment, and you win a Mercury outboard cover for the Mercury that you showed us on your boat. The cool thing is Mercury makes outboard covers for literally all of their outboards for the last 15 years. So if you've got it and it's black and it's on the back of your boat, they've got a cover for it. The Mercury Show Us Your Boat for this week, it's Westy, Charles West. He's one of the only anglers to ever win 5 events to win an Angler of the Year title. He's got a little black Quintrex, and he absolutely loves that thing. I'm not really in love with the colour of the carpet, but Westy, show us your boat.
Alright, Westy here, just to walk through my Mercury 4-stroke 30 horsepower 2013 powered Quintrex 395 Explorer. Okay, at the front we've got the new Ghost from Lowrance. It's on an Oceanic trailer. Good friend Chris mounted the spare wheel on there for me. Alright, look at the deck. Hatches everywhere, big full deck all the way through, as I do Bass Electrics a lot. Want plenty of deck space. So in the front, got shoes, life jackets are in there, underneath shoes, my rope. Next hatch, Rods will sit on here. Got rod buckles in there. A couple of tackle boxes, go-tos. Next hatch. More tackle storage in there. Can lock that if I want. In here is my batteries. 24 volt setup for the front. Sunken footwell. Lawrence HDS 12. Custom niche style wrap on the front. We've got a 3-lid live well. Find it easy. Just lift the middle one and gives you access to both sides. So if there's rods sitting on the top of the deck or anything like that in the way, you can just quickly lift the middle one. It's a full flow right system all the way through it. Sunken deck here, some speakers, little storage section, place to charge your phone. On the back of the deck we've got another hatch here, which is where I put my 24 volt system for when I got the back has-wing on. But at the moment, no batteries in it. It's just a bit of storage as well. Quickly go-to stuff. Can lift up. Okay, going to the back. I've got a socket for my anchor light. Just there. Underneath here is my battery, my cranking battery, bilge pump, flow right pumps. Everything's under there. Just quickly put that in there. Okay, Mercury, 4-stroke 30 horsepower, electric start and trim. Served me very well, 2013. It's done exceptionally well for me. Can't be more happier with that motor on the back, that's for sure. Okay, that's just the other side of the boat. Going down here, another hatch here. This hatch, some more storage. Bit of wet weather gear I've got tucked in there. It was raining the other day. But anyone that comes in as a non-boater or anything like that, they've got plenty of storage. Same here, another little part that's the seat. The deck's been built above the seat. Okay, coming up to the front. Another little hatch. I've got a little AGM battery here as another battery for my sounder. And you got the Anderson plug there that's my Ghost is hooked to as well. So that's it. A nice look at the Ghost. Through there, front of the hull. Got a little ram mount there. Got to put LED light there when I'm doing night trips to Maroon and stuff like that, and I need to see where I'm going so I don't run over anyone. Lean seat goes in there when I need it. All the accessories, switches and stuff like that, flow right stuff. Live well switch there. So that's it, guys. That's my 395 Quintrex Explorer, powered by the Mercury 4-stroke 30 horsepower. Not a bad little rig, that's for sure. It's done plenty of great days fishing for me. Thanks for watching.
There you go. Thank you, AB, and thanks to the guys from Mercury, and thank you, Westy, for showing us through that absolutely mint little tinny there. And it just goes to show that that boat is 100% ABT legal for any ABT tournament we got. So you don't need to have a 20-foot bass boat to fish the ABT events. You can fish it in a little boat. He pulls that electric motor, or the petrol motor off that and puts an electric motor on to fish the electric events as well. So who knows, Westy might win the Mercury outboard cover. AB's going to be the judge of that. Quick shout out for the building we're in at the moment, Fishing Monthly magazine. Used to be Fishing Monthly magazines, but the latest one should be in your news agents now, with a great WA Jewfish on the cover. In case you don't know, and if you don't know, I'll be surprised because I've been flogging it to everyone. We've had to, COVID's made us put Fishing Monthly magazines from 4 separate magazines into this one huge magazine. 132 pages, has content from WA, Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland. ABT members get it free, digital copy for free, with their newsletter each month. Which reminds me, we're doing the newsletter next week and sending you the digital copy of this magazine here. It's a good read. It has all of the ABT information in it, plus some great ideas of where you might like to go when you can start travelling around Australia again. And let's face it, we're all going to be fishing domestically for the next year or two. Who knows? But there's going to be some great information and ideas for you in that. You want to keep me in business? Go buy one from the newsagent if you haven't got one. Next, we're going to talk to Troy Dixon. Dicko is an absolute legend who's one of the sales managers at Wilson's Tackle in Brisbane. He is a perennial part of the ABT Barra Tour each year. It's been the Zerich Barra Tour for the last 3 or 4 years. He's also the current and reigning champion with his mate Adam Meredith from the Tackle Warehouse of the Venom Rods Australian Barra Open. He won that at Awonga last year in quite trying conditions. We caught up with Dicko earlier in the week to talk about the Barra Tour this year and how it's the only thing hasn't been affected by COVID.
Hi. I lost a big fish earlier today. Wasn't using suffix. It was about this big.
Look, slow down there, cowboy, okay? A fish in the lobster van, huh? You want your fish. Sorry, honey, that fish is gone.
Always use the best line, suffix 832.
All right, it's about time on ABT Lockdown Live that we talked about Barra fishing. And as it happens, it looks like the Barra Tour and indeed all the Barra events are the only ones that aren't going to be affected by the COVID crisis. I have got Troy Dixon here from L. Wilson and Company. And Dicko, mate, you are sequestered away there in Wilson's showroom, covered with as much Barra porn as possible in the tackle department, aren't you, mate? What's life like at Wilson's?
There's a fair bit on the wall behind me, that's for sure. So.
Mate, it's one of those deals where if I turned the camera the other way, it'd be a total disaster. But because it's looking this way, it's looking mint, isn't it?
Yes, it is, mate. There's a bit of crap over there. It's all it's a pretty good looking wall behind us anyway, and it's a growing wall, which is even better. So,
but you guys have been the naming sponsors of the Barra Tour for a few years now. You're the current Barra Australian Open champion, you and Adam from the Tackle Warehouse there. We're going to talk about that in a little while. Yep. I want you to give the viewers of the show a bit of a rundown on what's happened in the tackle industry. It's been a bit of an up and down ride for the guys, but we're on a bit of an upswing at the moment, aren't we?
Yes, we certainly like it's that the start of this pandemic, whatever you want to call it. It was a very scary time for the fishing industry, but now, mate, it's everyone seems to be going fishing. It's really positive. I think there's a lot of people that have that didn't go fishing as much. Have now taken on fishing and actually taken it on as a passion. And I think it's got a lot to do with kids not going to sport and all that sort of stuff. So. Hopefully, quite a few of those guys continue to love the passion of fishing like we all do. So,
no, it's been good, mate, and it's been the same in the boating industry as well.
Yeah.
A lot of the boat dealers have said a lot of people first-time boaters, people getting back into boating. It's it's on a real upswing. So for all the people that are watching tonight that are new to fishing, hey, ABT we're welcoming you, and we'd love you to stay in the industry.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I said, I've had multiple conversations with store owners of shops, and the amount of new customers that they've had over this time has been unbelievable. So, I mean, it's, the fishing industry, I think, might come out of this quite good compared to a lot of, other things that have suffered, like hospitality and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully it's for us. So.
Yeah, and look, it's very rare where you'd say you'd rather own a tackle shop than a pub, but right now might be that time.
Yeah, I think, yeah. There's some still doing it tough, mate. Don't get me wrong, but there's some doing it. They've come through this pretty good. So
that's awesome, mate. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the Barra events happening. We've always scheduled them towards the end of the year, and we take advantage of the 3 spring-ish full moons. And so the Barra Tour this year is the Zerek Barra Tour, of course. It consists of 6 events this year. And it's more than we've ever had before, and I think that reflects this upswing in the interest in barra fishing. It's the Barra Tour seems to get the anglers get better, and it's more fun, and it's just a great time every year.
Well, it's addictive.
You can't imagine yourself not going on it now, can you?
No, I really can't. Like I hope I get to continue to do that trip every year, because like I said, you get to meet some really good people, and it's a very, very fast learning curve when you go on the Barra Tour, because you're fishing with some of the best fishers in Australia. So it's and most of them, some of them a bit, they don't tell you much, but most of them are quite free with their information and tell you how they do it and where they go, and most of them you can see them most of the time anyway. So
yeah. No secrets there, mate. And we've expanded our range this year with the Barra Tour a little bit. We're going back to Tinaroo, and we haven't been to Tinaroo for well over 10 years, but it's really coming back as a really productive barra lake. So that's the opening of our season. We're on that end of September, beginning of October full moon up there, and it's we've talked to the local guys, we've got the session times right, and it looks like it's going to be a real cracker of an event. It's a long way to go for a lot of people up to Cairns, but I think the fishing is going to be well worth it. The way the Barra Tour is structured this year is you don't have to fish every single event to win the Angler of the Year, or the Team of the Year, but you can't do it in just the Barra Tour anymore. You have to either go to the Australian Open or maybe go to the Cairns Tinaroo event if you really want to win that overall trophy, which a lot of guys want to win. And I know that we have guys like Dylan Brian Mills and Ben Tunstead. They come down and they fish the tour. They are itching at the bit to get all of us up there to show us how good the fishing in their backyard is.
Those boys are guns up on that dam up there in Cairns. So it'll be an interesting competition, that one. And unfortunately, I won't be able to get to that one, but that's the way it goes. But we'll be definitely doing the rest of the tour. So.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, mate. So we're opening up in that event up in Cairns. From there, the next full moon, which is at the end of September, beginning of October. Don't even know the exact dates. It's the great full moon, and it's about 3 or 4 weeks later than we ran it this year. So when we hit a wonga, what hindered us a little bit last year was a bit of a cold snap, made it a bit tough. Did make it tough for you, but because you did better than anyone else. But bringing it into line with that early October full moon where the Awonga Barra just go nuts. I'm really looking forward to that event because there should be plenty of 90 centimetre plus fish coming through now.
Yeah, I've done a few trips up to Awonga after the Australian Open last year, and it's an unbelievable fishery. Like, being so close to Brisbane, like, you can be there in 6 hours, 5.5, 6 hours. And, mate, the fish that are available there is just crazy. So, it's a good place. It's, nice big. You're not on everyone's. You're not next door to everybody. You can get a little place and get away from everyone else. And, mate, it's got some unreal fish in it. And I reckon we'll see some good meateries. I reckon this year. So. Yeah.
So, what do you reckon if you rocked up this year with the bag weight you caught last year? If you rocked up there with that this year, where do you reckon you'd come?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. Just nowhere. One of the guys in the middle.
But it's fishing, Steve. It's fishing. So anyone that's got a lure in the water that's at the right time can catch five Barra. So
it seems they're like that in there too. If you get a patch of fish going
Yeah.
for 15 minutes, it can be mayhem, can't it?
that's what it was like for us last year. We worked out that if we didn't have our lures in the water at this particular time, we caught nothing. So
Yep.
most of our fish come in a spurt of, say, an hour every day.
Yep.
And we sat in the same spot for 3 days. So
Now, anyone that's watching and thinking, oh, look, I might want to give a Barra event a shot. I think the Australian Open's a really good one. You don't have to commit to a whole tour. If you're in Brisbane, it's the closest one to Brisbane. I think it's $500 entry for a team, so it's not absolute top dollar. It's not low dollar, but the prize money gets paid back at 100%. So the prize money is really, really good,
But you
and you
think
get to fish with your mate.
3 days, so it's pretty good.
Yep, and you get to fit. And the thing with Barra, like with the Breamin the Bass tournaments, we run the boater non-boater thing. With the Barra tournaments, you can fish with your mate, so you can plan to go with your mate, stay with your mate, fish with your mate. Give your mate the dead arm when he doesn't net your fish properly and it jumps off. It's a real team deal, isn't it?
And mate, and we've got some really good accommodation there too, like the caravan park right at the dam. There's a couple of other places down the road, so you can camp with each other. You know, like last year when we were there, we had a good group of guys there. We all communicated every night when we got off the water. It was and then during the day before the comp, because you know, we weren't starting our sessions till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so you're getting to have a good chat with everyone. It was really good, just especially having, you know, a big group of guys together like that. So
that's awesome, mate. And that leads me on to the to the jewel in the crown, which is of course the Xeric Barra Tour. We've got our formula now where we do an evening event at Lake Kinchant, which you know can sometimes be tough, but when it goes off, it just goes off like a frog in a sock, and you're watching Barra jump all over the joint.
Yeah. It's a cool place, nice little dam. You know,
good for a one nighter. Wouldn't want to fish a 5-day test match on there, but good for a one nighter.
No, but it's that's one spot where you actually get to fish next to people, and you know, you get to watch people's techniques and things like that. So you do learn a lot on that dam for sure, I reckon. Anyway,
and your sledging game's got to be up to point, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, I got I don't sledge too much, but there's a fair bit of sledging comes out of quite a few of the boats.
Yeah, that's it. There's a saying that we have: a closed mouth gathers no feet.
Yeah.
From there we go to Timbra, which is a beautiful lake, plenty of timber, deeper water, an entirely different fishery from Kinchant, and you've got to make that adaptation overnight. Like one night's Kinchant, the next night's Timbra, and it's nearly like a whole different set of lures, whole different set of techniques.
Yeah, the Timbra was good. Timbra was good to me last year. It was I think I got a third there last year.
Yep.
But, yeah, it was compared to the year before where we donutted. So
yeah. Well, you weren't alone there, mate. And again, when Timbra fire, like we'll hit Timbra when it fires one night, and it's going to be off the charts, the results.
Oh, and it's a beautiful dam. It's beautiful, that place. So.
Then, of course, the one everyone looks forward to, of course, are the two events that we have at Peter Faust Dam. Camp Kanga's back open now. Yep. That is the ultimate of everyone staying together, having a couple of lemonades in the afternoon, catching plenty of meat of fish, and it always decides the team of the year. It's like the team that does best at Faust is the team that normally takes that AOY title or the team of the year title, mate. And I want you to run through, if you're going to do the Barra Tour and you're going to end up at Faust, what Xeric baits do we need to make sure we're going to put stuff on the scoreboard there?
At Faust?
At Faust.
Well, you can't go past the 7-inch flat shad.
Yep.
You know, like 7-inch, 9-inch flat shad, rigged up on a jig head. This one's got the worm hook in it. A lot of guys are using it with the worm hook because they get to wind it across the top of the weed and that.
Yep.
But I rig them up on a jig head style, and put a stinger in the bottom of them. Mate, you can't go to Faust without the white 7-inch flat shad. It's caught just as many Barra up there as anything else. And also, the second one of choice, if they were the two lures that I had to fish, it'd be the Fat Betty Fish Trap 110.
Yeah. How many of those things do you sell every year? They seem to be the staple of Xeric the tour.
That particular colour, in the 95 mil one, it is ridiculous. It's thousands. So,
thousands of that lure.
Yeah, it, like at any one time, if we're doing orders, we would order 1,000 of Fat Betty.
Wow, of just that one colour.
That one colour.
Yeah.
So,
It's awesome, mate.
I don't know what it is. It just catches everything. It catches flathead, dew. The guys that are using them up on the reef, like catching coral trout and things like that, they I don't know what it is. The colour, the UV in it, it just seems to catch fish. It catches fishermen, which is good. But it does catch fish. So
yep.
If I go to like that at Kinchin Dam, that's usually what I tie on straight away. So
yep. And you leave it on all night, don't you? Daytime, nighttime, doesn't matter.
Mate, I've got about 10 rods, so I've got a lure on every one of them. So I just rotate through them.
Yep. Mate, it's a real testament to Zarek, the fact you've sponsored the tour. The guys use the baits. They often win Big Barra and win tournaments on the bait. Yep. So I think it's a really good synergy that, you get there, you're accessible to the people, and then the stuff you learn on the Barra tour, that becomes integral in your R&D for future baits, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, and even after last year, I was playing around with some experimental lures and come back and, hopefully come Barra tour time, we might have some of the production models of some new lures that we've been working on. So hopefully it'll be a bit of a release for them.
Well, there you go, mate. There's everyone that's watching this show. You've heard it here first. Troy's letting the cats out of the bag. There might be some cool news, Zarek, for you at the Barra Tour, mate. Thank you to Wilson's. Thank you to Venom. Thank you to Zarek for sponsoring us, mate. Thanks for joining us on ABT Lockdown Live. I cannot wait for the Barra Tour to start.
Cool. Thanks, Steve. Thanks very much.
There you go, Dicko. What an absolute bloody legend of the Queensland and Australian tackle industry, and the man to beat on a Woonga this year. Him and Adam, everyone's going to be gunning for him. They want that great big silver Barra trophy, which is currently living in the tackle warehouse in Brisbane. Apparently Adam walks in every day, polishes it up, tells his workmates about how good a Barra fisherman he is, and dead set, he got the trophy to prove it. Got a couple of comp winners. Where are you from? Wins the AFC DVDs here and a shirt in your size. So Peter Crimmin from Mountain Creek on the Sunshine Coast. You entered via YouTube, mate. Send us a message on Facebook Messenger to our ABT, Australian Bass Tournaments page on Facebook. I want to know your shirt size and I want to know your address. Let us know that. That was Peter Crimmin from Mountain Creek on the Sunshine Coast. Let's draw the couple of V-Wraps from Rapala, plus some Costa merchandise there. That was Peter Clark, who said his favourite Rapala was the Rapala Husky Jerk in HJ6. I don't know what HJ stands for, probably Husky Jerk. He entered via Facebook. Peter Clark, let us know your address. Send us a Facebook Messenger message. We will get that in the mail to you as well. Now, sad story here. Glenn Sturrock, we really wanted to give you a prize, mate. You're our biggest supporter. We asked what your favourite Rapala was, and you said a 3-metre flatty. It's not a Rapala, mate. Shouldn't have mucked around. You missed out on the stuff. Better luck next time. Sorry, Gleno. We know you love watching the show. Can't save you from yourself. Now, other questions we had. Some people said, is Fishing Monthly magazine staying as a national magazine? It's going to stay as a national magazine until the advertising gets back up to where it was, where we could have it as 4 separate magazines. So 100% dependent on advertisers and COVID. At the moment, they're all still not spending that much, so it has to stay in this format for now. Appreciate everyone who sent us the great feedback. 9 out of 10 people love it. 1 out of 10 people want to punch me in the face. That's just how it is. Sorry. I've got a comp for some Xerex. Look at that. Dicko said if he was going to go to Faust and fish for Barras, they would be the lures that he's got. Now he's got the Fat Betty colour in the flat shads. So I've got a couple of flat shads here ready to go. I've got the Barra X, the jerk bait, and I've got the live mullet. So I want you to tell me which of these lures that you would want to use Barra fishing. It can be the flat shads. It could be the live mullet swim bait or the Barra X hard bait. So there you go. That's what you can win. Put your entries on there now. We're going to announce it after our next segment. And Nicole, I know you didn't have any audio there. Tell us which of those Xeric Barra lures that you want to use for Barra. You could win all 4 of those. Remember, Peter Crimmin, Peter Clark, both send us your addresses via Facebook messages and away we go. Next segment we have the big kahuna himself. He's run his own live show for the last couple of months. He is a gun Garmin angler and Garmin dealer. And just quickly, in the comments, if you want to give, when you want us to give away a Garmin live scope after this segment, let us know in the comments. But until then, let's talk to Matthew Mott.
What them sons of fishes up to now?
Fellas, I give you the force trolling motor. It is the most powerful, the most efficient on the water.
Yep. Most powerful. We're really in trouble now.
And it's quiet, too. You can't swim here.
What a dumb bass.
Well, you all knew it was going to happen sooner or later. We've got the big kahuna himself on here. He's been an AFC champion many times in the past. He's won about, I don't know, how many, 3 or 4 ABT grand finals. Mate, Matthew Mott, welcome to the show, mate. We had to wait till you wound down your old show until you filled a few withdrawals and came on the ABT show.
Oh, mate, I've been waiting for this is the highlight of my day. You know, what can I say? I think it's a bit of mate, we got you on the show the other day. Now you've got me on. It all works pretty good. ABT's been a big part of my life. I talked about it last night on the show, actually our last show. So it's pretty awesome. I must admit.
Mate, and it was interesting. I don't know if you saw the show a few weeks ago, but we had John Schofield on, and you and Scoey fished a few tournaments in the early days. Very complimentary of your fishing ability. Maybe not so complimentary of your early decision making, but I think between the two of you, you got the job done, didn't you?
Mate, he was a massive influence. It's funny. Scully didn't teach me about fishing. It wasn't about the fishing. It was the mental side. That's where that guy just shone. You know, like, you know, I was a young fella and be like, oh, mate, they're whacking them over there. Let's go over there. And he goes, no, if they're catching them there, we'll catch them here. And he taught me a lot of that thinking outside of the box. And as I said, it wasn't about how to cast or what to fish. You know, we're probably equal as far as that goes. But just that mental side, I learned so much out of what he taught me in that. And, you know, just unbelievable, you know. It just, as I say, the things that he taught me, I've just carried on for the rest of my life. So it's been pretty cool.
So are you admitting that at some time a young Matthew Mott was a bit bloody hot under the collar and probably ran around too much and didn't have that settled attitude?
Mate, yeah, look, you know, back in the old Meatworks days, you know, we played hard. We played very hard. And he was a big influence on that. You know, someone getting the rope, well, let's go over there and smack him in the mouth and we'll sort it out that way. And he'd be like, no, how we'll get him is we'll beat him on that scoreboard. That'll hurt him more than anything. Yep. And, as I said, he taught me a lot about that, about, you know, playing the game hard but being nice off the field. You know, there's the same sort of things when we played footy. So taught a lot of that stuff, put that aggression into the right focus. And it was always about, don't worry about what the other guy's doing. We've got to worry about what the fish are doing because we're going against the fish, not the personality, the fish. We'll get them on the bank when we hold the trophy up and say, hey, guess what, guys, we tailed you up again. That's where you get the satisfaction. So, as I said, mate, that them early years with John, I just took that on, and hopefully I can hand a lot of that stuff on to the young fellas these days.
That's awesome, mate. Tell us about your AFC time, and a lot of people will know you, of course, through the AFC. Tell us a bit about AFC, and I want to hear the story about the producer that pulled you aside and injected some personality into you. Tell us that story.
Well, mate, I won the grand final in 2005. That was probably the biggest event. I'd won a couple of comps, but that was the big. That was AFC was in a second year or something like that, and that's the pinnacle. Everyone, and the beauty back then is why it was so special is you had to win a grand final. There was no. You know yourself, mate. There was guys come along throwing money at you. Just let me on the show, and you'd say to them, mate, easy, just win a grand final. Like you can't buy. You've got to earn your way. You can't buy it. So I won that. We go down to Sydney, the big lights. I'm from Mergen. I'm like, holy hell, what's going on? There's producers running around. I was in awe of the whole lot. And, you know, being me, the easiest way to break the ice is sit back with the camera guys and have a few beers, a few late nights, you know, which probably did upset maybe people like yourself the odd time. But we did that. And one of the producers said to me one day, mate, your goal, what I want you to do is you've got to come up with a saying. He said, every time I drive past you, I want you to say number one on the water, baby. And I'm like, I'm not saying that. You look like an idiot. And he goes, mate, I'm telling you, every time I'll point to you and you say it. And then when other times, if you catch a big fish, I want you to do the jump for joy. And I went, really? And we did it. And I felt like an idiot at the time, but the rest was history. Because as he said, people don't remember. That's where the beauty with, you know, with the Harrys and myself. And people don't remember what fish you catch. They remember the personalities. And he taught me that. And as I said, that the rest is history now. That sort of catchphrases I get thrown back in my face for the after the 20 years. But it's cool, mate, to be at least remember for something, I suppose.
That's right. You're number one on the water, and now you're a little shop in the middle of nowhere.
That's the one. See, I'm taking it. I'm taking just a little shop in the middle of nowhere.
That's awesome, mate. Through AFC, I suppose I remember you as being very competitive on the water, but you were of all of the hearts all the way up the sleeve. Some would wear it pretty close to here, mate. You'd wear it like way down here. You had some ups and downs over the time. Tell us about the time at Barra when you thought you were going to get kicked out. Like, I've never seen you so rattled.
I was shattered, and the thing back then is you had no pre-fish. You didn't know what the other people were doing, and your head, your mind games. You go out there, had a really good, we had 4 hours on the water, had a very good pre-fish, went out in the dam, couldn't get a bite, nothing's happening, dropped a couple of fish early. You try and stay, because the pressure, like, is unbelievable. Then you start thinking everyone else is whacking them. I've only got 2 little ones. I bet you Timmy's smashing them. I bet you Harry's cracked them. I bet you Carl smashed a heap. That'll be right. This is the end of my trip. I've blown the whole show. What can I do? And then you come in and you're sort of looking around. And back then, nobody, you were really strict on it wasn't fake. Like, we didn't know. We weren't allowed to see what the other guy got. And you were thinking, and then, obviously you being your vindictive purpose, say, oh, I think you're gone. And then you'd be saying the same thing to Timmy, oh, mate, I think you're gone. So we'd all be sitting there looking at each other going, oh, gee, where are we with all this stuff? This is, once you're out, it's basically impossible to try and win another grand final. Once you're out, you're out. And, mate, lucky enough to get on that scale, and you see it when we watched the old show the other day, you didn't know. You didn't know where you were hoping, but you're thinking, oh, and mate, that was awesome. And then that other time where it was funny, I was thinking about it before, that the one with the Monique when she was a little girl. Now she's got kids, her grandparents, and she's got children of her own. And she made me that spinnerbait and said, Dad, I want you to take this. And it was a strand out of every colour and looked stupid as. And I remember talking to Starling, Steve about it, and I said, I'm just going to throw this. I've got nothing to lose. And, end up smashing the fish on it. And it was funny because leading on from that story, I remember driving. I think we were going barra fishing, and I scraped through and I was in. And a really good mate of mine, David Green, who I was talking to the other day, was the guy who got knocked out. And I felt really bad. And we were talking on the phone while we were driving each other's cars. But the funny thing about it was, a few years later, when it was more of a teams event, we came back and we won AFC together a couple of years in a row. So it just shows you that, roundabouts and how things turn around. So it was an awesome journey, mate. Loved the whole 10 or 11 years I did it. I loved every minute of it.
Now, when we see you at ABT events now, it's usually at the Barra tour.
Yeah.
I think you, like me, you probably fish for Barra more than I do, but man, I really look forward every year to going and just getting that bite. And for me, it's not the fight, it's not the jump, it's not the holding the fish. It's the roll in that lure and having that bite, which is so savage that it could bruise your guts. That's what keeps you coming back, isn't it?
Oh, mate, obviously I was a Barra guide and still do a bit of it with selected clients nowadays. But I did that for 10 years. But now, I suppose the last 2 or 3 years doing it with Dylan with a couple of years, and we had a lot of success. And then, everyone knows Tommy now.
Yep.
Especially Nicole. His bank balance is a lot less. But anyway, that's pretty funny. But, mate, there's nothing, the anticipation and to get that initial hit on a Barra when they're savaging it, because the thing is with Barra, you can be fishing for hours for nothing, and next, all of a sudden, bang, that rod nearly gets ripped out of your hand, and the adrenaline rush, and they're jumping and they're carrying on. There really isn't nothing like it, but because there's nothing like it because of what you have to do to get that. It's not easy. It's late nights, big days, hot, all that sort of stuff, and just getting that one hit, it makes the adrenaline. And mate, even if it's a 60 centimeter, it's just so much fun. It is something that everyone's got to experience.
Mate, that's you reminded me of that story there. I want you to give us the 60-second version of the Nicole story buying the ciggies down the shop. Tell us Tommy's story, and I want the Motty version with all the embellishments.
So you want me to add a bit to it? No. We'd done the all-nighter. We'd done really well. It was obviously we were going to bed early. Unfortunately, we didn't go to bed, and then a few more beers and a few bigger crowds. Poor old Tommy, this is his first Barra tournament, first doing the things. And if you meet Tommy, everyone knows who Tommy was about second day into the tour. He'd run out of ciggies. You guys were going into Prosy to get some supplies and different things. And he says to Nicole, "Oh, you wouldn't be able to buy me a packet of ciggies for me?" And she goes, "Oh, no worries." Being Tommy's like, "Oh, here's my credit card. Here's my number. Just go and get it." Like, I'm happy. Just, I don't care. You know, there's plenty of money in there. Anyway, Nicole goes into Prosy, buys like 6 cartons or whatever. I said, "Oh, he wants 6 cartons." So it was 6 cartons. So it was end up like 40 odd packets. It was like $500 or $600. She comes back and she's like, "Really? Did this is how much people pay for smokes?" So by this stage, there's like 30 people in the ring having a few beers, talking about Barra and talking different things. Nicole brings over this and says, "I bought you ciggies and it cost $625 or something." And Tommy's like, "What?" She's going. And then we just started hammering. We said, "Oh, you know, that's the best." You know, someone went in there 10 minutes later and the IGA was closed down because that was the biggest sale they'd ever done all day. And they'd given old mate a bonus for the week because he'd ripped some lady off, you know, $600 and something for a packet of ciggies. And mate, it was. And the poor old Tommy's like, "Man, what am I going to do with all these smokes? Like, I know I smoke a bit on tour, but this is ridiculous." So he's going around to everyone, "Oh, you know, do you want a packet of smokes? I'll do them for $40. And then he's trying to get some money back into his account. He's like, "You know, I hope we win," which we're lucky enough to win the next comp, because he's like, "Man, I don't know if I've got enough money to cover it. Or there's 15, 40 packets of ciggies over here for the rest of the trip. I don't know if I can pay me way off in that, maybe." So, yeah, that was a really valuable lesson. Don't let Nicole go and buy a beer or smokes, because you could end up with a pallet. You know,
that's right.
A couple of kegs. Go and ask her to get a tally, and she brings back a keg.
That's
you know,
right.
so yeah, pretty valuable lesson.
Get her to go get a bottle of milk. She brings the cow back.
Good way to make everyone give up smoking. Is just let Nicole take the account for the day.
Awesome, mate. Let's talk a bit about Garmin. It's a great sponsor of yours, and it's a great sponsor of ABT's. And ABT, we've always been very heavy on the Garmin Verb camera. It's been such a great camera for us. We give them an absolute caning, and we use it to make those awesome highlights packages that we show in the Bream and the Bass events. But nowadays, they've actually discontinued those Verb cameras. So the advice is, if you want one, go get one before they run out of stock in shops, because they're pretty good. I know I've got 10 of them. You've probably got a handful of them as well.
I've got 6. Mate, they were awesome. And the one thing I just wish people realised, and I mean, it was probably a mistake of everyone, but that integration that you can do with your sounder. I mean, I used to do a few videos on it, stuff like that, but that was just awesome. Everyone's into GoPros, anyone's into Garmin, you know, doing that stuff on their boat. This made it so much easier, because instead of going out and videoing something and then thinking you got the right shot, and then when you look at it back later on, you got half your head cut off, or you've missed the right. This, you can look at your screen and it just comes up on your screen. You run it through the screen on your sounder. And it makes it so much easier for doing that sort of stuff. And, mate, they were just robust. You know, like I've had one there for, 5 or 6 years. As you said, you're watching a video that you do with your stuff when you're doing your live now. And, you know, as you say, you're out there in the salt water, you're bashing it around, you're doing all that. They just handle it. And as I said, that integration makes everything that Garmin does integrates with everything Garmin has. So it's not like it's something special. It's just what they do. So it's pretty cool. I know Jason was the same. I know we were disappointed when they said, "Oh, look, we're just not going to do it." And it was just purely a financial, "Hey, look, we're not selling as much because you can go and buy one off eBay for some dodgy brand." And, you know, that's just the way it goes. But no, look, I've been very proud. It just sort of fell into my lap at the right time with the Garmin stuff. They were just starting out. I'd been with Hummingbird for like 21 years with your brother, with Timmy and that. They were moving in a different direction. We were probably moving in a little bit different direction. And, you know, I wasn't looking for anyone. And then, you know, that came along, and you know, the rest is history. It was funny. I've said this before. When they came to me, they said, Because back that stage, I said, mate, no one, Garmin, don't, like, we were doing pigging and stuff like that, like all the pigging collars and all that. Garmin was the number one, but not so much in electronics. And they just said, look, if you come on board and stick with this, and in 5 years we'll blow your mind. And I went, oh, yeah, okay, we'll see how it all goes. You know, we're very cautious. And wow, who would have believed we'd be in the position now? Like, blow your mind, blows my mind every day. I'd start my boat up. It's just out of control.
And let's zone in on that, because it's the live scope stuff which is really ticking all the boxes for everyone. And we've seen your videos online, and Matty Langford does them. We've seen all the COD guys down south do them. We've seen the Justin Nye and the Barra guys.
Yeah.
Publishing, you know, when I was a kid, I was always like, I wonder what it would be like if there was no water and I could see where all the fish were. And it's exactly what it does for you. It takes the water out of the equation and you can see what's happening down there. It's amazing, isn't it?
The biggest thing that it does, and look, it's not cheap, but if you look at the big scheme of things of what you buy for a boat, what you pay for fuel, towing a car, all that sort of stuff, if you add it up, it's not that much. It's not really that dear. But what it does do is it gives average person, average guy who wants to go fishing, he doesn't have to interpret anymore. He can actually just see it. And, you know, some people go, oh, it's not right, that's not fishing, blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe if you're a gun pro, turn all your sounders off. Take an anchor out, take your boat off and paddle it. You know, that's the way it is. These people who have never done this stuff before, it's a great interpretation for them. And now they've got just as much chance of going out and catching a fish as what we have. So that's the whole idea. It's about everyone to enjoy what we all love. And it just gives those, because, you know, side scan, down scan, 2D, all that stuff's great, but you have to interpret it. You think, I think that is, I'm not real sure. Yeah. And you've got to remember, these, you know, for people who aren't right into it like us, it's like, I think that's what it is, but I'm not real sure. But with this, it's there. It's swimming around. Oh, they're fish. Okay, I can see them live. It's as you see it. And the analogy I use, which is if you think about it, if you were out at night and you had night vision goggles on and you look through those night vision goggles, that's exactly the same image. It's not crystal clear, but you can see what's going on. And if you think of it like that, that's the image that you get on your screen. It's live, it's real, and it's easy to interpret what it is.
Now, we've seen it work with the cod and the Barra, and we've seen your videos, especially with the new periscope mode with the bass. You can see little bass from a long way away. My stuff's coming, and I'm really keen to see if I can see brim from a long way away with this thing. And I think if you can, man, there's a whole market of people there that are going to love this technology.
You definitely can. That's something that we've worked internally with. You know, we've sort of, with the stuff they're doing with the yellow belly and the cod, and then we're up here with the bass, and then we've got the Barra. You know, people are starting to realise that, and that's really good. It works just as effective in saltwater, and we are looking at doing a lot of stuff with that. And I have sold, it's funny, I've sold a lot of setups for guys who do offshore, you know, 30, 40 meters, and it's changed the way they fish. A lot of them guys aren't social media guys, and they don't want to actually put stuff up because they're you know, their little sneaky little snapper spot. They don't want anyone else to know about it, but they're utilising that right now. So whether it's hard to get your head around it. I don't try and think of it this way, but salt, freshwater, current, it makes no difference to it. It's not a traditional sounder. It's not like what you would normally think. So don't even think that it's going to make a difference, because it makes absolutely no difference. We've got guys up in the territory using it. Makes no difference what the current is, what any of that stuff is. It has no effect to it. It's not like a normal transducer. It's totally different.
That's awesome, mate. And before I let you go, give us a plug for the shop in the middle of nowhere. You've got a fair bit of Garmin expertise there. I see the Great Wall of Garmin there behind you, about to topple over on you. Tell us what you can do for people.
There's a lot of cranky people because that's supposed to be sent out, but I couldn't because I had to leave. Yeah, look, mate, we've a few years ago we got asked. Obviously, for a long time we didn't sell it. We didn't want to do that sort of cross thing. Being, you know, one of the top Garmin pros. But they were pretty keen to do it because they realised that I'm not just going to go out there. This is a part of a business. We've tried to keep everything separate. I always try and keep everything separate. And, yeah, mate, look, it's at the moment we are selling a truckload. A lot of people are we sort of put ourselves as that whole live scope specialist. There really isn't anyone who knows as much about it as can understand it like we do. As far as your setups, it's not about price, it's about the advice. And we can help you with that advice, telling you what unit you can sell, what you need to put on for what you want to do. Because every person is different, whether that's buying a 9-inch, whether that's buying a 16, depending on how you want to do it and how you want to fish, this is the unit that you need to look at. So that's been really well received, and mate, yeah, it's been pretty awesome at the moment.
Well, and if people are watching this and they want to get in touch with you and pick your brains about a live scope or Garmin setup, how do they get in touch with you?
Mate, you can just easiest thing with these phone numbers everyone forgets, even as 0428682594. If you want to give us a ring, charter, smack, whatever, 1,000 things we got going on. I'm the bush version of Steve Morgan. That's what I am. I've got my little fingers in everywhere. But yeah, look, just message us on Facebook. That's on Messenger. That's the big thing these days. Basta Barra or Matthew Mott Sports Fishing. Give us a message, and look, even if you don't want to buy it off us, as long as we can give you the right advice, and that means you go and buy it off somebody else who's a Garmin dealer, and that's easier for you because you want to support your local. I'm happy to give you whatever advice I can give you because that's what we're here for. You know, a bit of a dual role. So give us a buzz, and we'll try and set you up.
There you go, mate. You've changed since the old fist fight and meat worker, mate. Pleasure to have you on the show, mate. It's been great to take this journey.
Mate. I'm a grandfather now. I've got to be responsible. Look, thanks for you guys for doing this stuff too. It's a bit like our show. It means a lot to people who, if you know, with all this crisis stuff going on. I know it's been a tough. Me and you talk off screen. It's been a tough time for you too, mate. You're doing a stellar job, and let's get back to normal. It's getting there, guys. Do the right thing, and we'll be up into it strong very soon.
Good on you, Motty. Thanks for the chat.
Thanks, guys.
Well, you might wonder who does all of the packing work here. That's me. That's what I've been doing while that segment with Matthew Mott's been running. Packing up all of the prizes. Speaking of prizes, how many of you guys wanted to win a Garmin Live Scope? Of course, I haven't got a bloody Live Scope to give away. Those things are like $5,000. But go see Motty. He'll even sort you out with a Live Scope, even if he's not selling it to you. Great ambassador for the Garmin product. And as he says, just a little shop in the middle of nowhere. Good on you, Motty, and thanks for joining us. I saw Motty was online. If you've got any questions for him, jump. I think he was on the Facebook feed. Jump on our Facebook channel onto that feed, and you can hit up the big kahuna, ask him anything you want to know about Garmin. That man will be happy to help you out. Don't believe you thought we'd given away a Garmin Live Scope. Jesus. Anyway, well done, Motty. Best product placement ever. Couple of honourable mentions for tonight. Firstly, winner of the Zerek Lures Comp. I'm just packing those lures up here now. Martin Kavanagh with a K. He would like to win, or he would like to fish with, one of these Fat Betty flat shads if he went to Faust. So, mate, you can have one of those as well as those other Zerek lures we're giving away tonight. Make sure, Martin Kavanagh, send us your name and address on our Facebook page via Facebook Messenger there, and I will get these things out to you ASAP. Another honourable mention tonight, Paul Langley. His favourite Rapala, Magnum 10. Don't really use it for anything, but Nicole is a 10. So there we go. Very good. Brought a smile to her face. Nearly won you that comp, mate. Nearly. I only think she thought it would be a bit unfair if she did it that way. But good work on the comments. You made her turn red. I like that. And I think that's nearly all we have for tonight. It's sort of been a bit weird for us. We've gone back to regular work. We haven't been working all week on Lockdown Lives. We've been putting it together during the week. We've been working on the new studio. We've been doing some filming. Life is starting to get back to normal. But all of you that joined us tonight on Facebook, on the YouTube channel, thank you very much. Plenty of you there. We know there's plenty of things to do now. The footy's on, the AFL's on, but ABT Lockdown Live's on for another few weeks, and after that it's going to be called ABT Live. So make sure if you like this feed, share it with your mates, let everyone know it's on, and we're going to be coming back to you in 2 weeks' time. All of the information about the tournaments that we have relaunched tonight going to be on the website. I think Nicole's going to go and tick the live button to make it all live straight away. So we would love to see you guys at an event with us really soon. So until next time, Steve Morgan checking out from ABT's old studio.